when I'm working with the head, most people think of head rotation as coming sort of back of head and through the neck area. And yes, all of these things are going to have issues or concerns with the rotations. But now when you come in and start working with the actual equilibrium with the head, and as you can see, the difference that when you touch the head in more of a weight transfer, and you can start to feel right there, see the changes right now, the pressure points, where that's where I can start to feel within the, at least on this side, through the nasal cavity, and where it's affecting the pressure. So you don't feel, see, it's more stuck there, right? So you're not getting the same response within the rotation. So these are the things you have to start feeling within the head. You literally can almost see with the pressure points here where it goes through, right where the eyes would be, are alleviating in the back of the skull on the left. Whereas if I go to the right, you're not getting the same implementations. You're feeling it actually through the nose and the jawline a little bit. And it goes right through the reading. So now I'm going to start to get to work. So now one of the first things I'm going to do is just go just to the base of the skull, right behind the ears, and then going down back into, and then you can start to see where the head starts to almost begin to float like it should off the table. So there's less gaps, or I should say there's more gaps, less pressure being applied through the skull to hold the head. And this you can already see not only where the head is resting, but now if I start to rotate, you're starting to see less square footage of higher impacts. And so again, I'm going to go back into the back of the head, transferring right through the mastoid processes, so just changing the footprint of the way the skull is on the table. Now here you can see where his neck was involved more, so I'm just going to go underneath here and then back, and again you can see where the load variation is really starting to happen within the skull. Even on the shoulders a little bit, how it's not as much pressure through the shoulders. Just light turns within the head. And again, just going back and just seeing where the head moves. And now this is one of the key things I look at with the head, is where the head starts to come off the table. So it's just a light little kick, but where you start to see the forehead as well as the back of the skull. See right there, it's quite heavy. Coming back down, and there. This is where there's a lot of weight in my hands. And so I need to work just like that water bowl presentation that I make within here, just to show. And again, now I'm going to show again just the changes again, where you can see the blueprint of the head is not as severe as it was in the beginning. So even when if I just let him rest, you'll see now gaps within the head just moving slightly, versus him even when if I push down, I'm not getting the same surface pattern tension that he did when he first started. The dents are showing up more in the head. So when I bring him up and then come back down onto the table where he can start, and you can even see again where my hands are coming in. Not so much that, if you can see, my load is more underneath versus being where I'm holding the head. So if you see where I'm holding the head more, then I have less load on the table. My load is way, I'm using the table to my advantage as I'm picking up the head. Those are my hands. And again, showing again where you can just see again the pressure points, the load variations in the head as it's starting to roll around. And you can start to see again, now there's a little glitch here. But if I come in now here into the shoulders, just to offer just a little bit of information, you can see too how the head moves around that. And then if I come in here now, you can start to see where the shoulders respond a bit more, or upper thorax into the low variations. Coming off C7. But these are the things that get integrated when you're working with movement lesson in very subtle variations, countering where the system wants to go and needs to go. But especially too, the lightness of touch, even if I go through forehead. Now I can feel there's tension now within the neck. So this is where I can come in and just offer a bit more rotation into his movement. But I never want to, I'm not applying pressure down here where I'm changing the imprint below. If I'm doing that, as you can see, if anything, my touch lightens the imprint that the skull has and the body has, so it can move around itself. There we go. You can start really starting to see it's almost like the head is floating off the top of the body. But hopefully this will really show you how movement lesson really is a lesson in movement. I'm not specifically taking his head, and it'll show right here, and going left and right. You see how it has it's a much harder impact within the surface, and I don't get the range as I would as versus where I'm coming in and just adding in the rotation with balance and counterbalance. That's a completely different, again, weight transfer versus neuromuscular activity that he's turning the head.